I say was
or your biggest disappointment?
My highest high or my lowest low
of your life.
You know, I've had so many high points in my life. I mean, first of all, I'm a person who has escaped depression. I don't get depressed. I should get depressed, all the disasters I've caused in my life, you know, all the fractured stuff. But I don't get depressed. I mean, I was born lucky to be real upbeat and to laugh a lot and to survive that way. I've spent a lot of my life just experiencing an awful lot of euphoria just from being a kid, just involved with the natural world, you know, just being out chasing butterflies or pressing leaves in my little scrapbooks, or watching my grandfather band birds. I mean, I've just been fascinated and curious about everything all my life. I've had incredible highs with being married, incredible lows being divorced, incredible highs with all the adventures you have with children, incredible lows when things go awry with the kids and that kind of stuff. I have to say that Taos County, the physical county, the geology of Taos County, has been just one euphoric experience after another. And that means the Rio Grande Gorge, it means fishing, it means walking around on the mesa, just spending days and hours, you know, looking at stock, just experiencing the life, the weather, the wildlife, the moods, all that stuff. I've never had more fun than just, you know, bushwhacking on elk trails up above the Rio Chiquito or Pot Creek or whatever. Certainly climbing in the high mountains, camping in the high mountains, fishing in the high mountain lakes, watching bighorn sheep. I mean, I just can't describe how much ecstasy I have gotten, you know, from the natural world and from the land that surrounds us in Taos. And without the land that surrounds us, God knows if I would have stayed here for 5 minutes, you know. Although that said, I have to admit that being a part of the Taos community has been an unbelievably euphoric and interesting and traumatic and fascinating and joyful and you know, tragic experience. When I moved to Taos, it was like, you know, just finding a home and a place where my roots grew down like an alfalfa plant instantly.
Okay. In Taos, I came to Taos in 1969. The first day I arrived here, there were bullet holes in store windows. Things were boarded up. There was a hippie Chicano war going on. I remember I was driving around the plaza. I saw a kid that looked like he needed a ride. He said, I stopped my VW bus and picked him up, and he said, I'm going to the 5-Star Farm. And I drove him down to Llano Quemado to the hot springs. And the next thing I know, I was floating around in the hot springs, totally naked with 35 or 40 freaks. And then they asked me to dinner, and they were all squatting around a big cauldron full of stew or something and eating it with their hands. And then they asked me to stay because they were having what amounted, as far as I could tell, a kind of communal fuckathon that night. And I was married and I had a kid, so I declined. I demurred. I remember fleeing from the 5-Star Farm down in Hot Springs. I was so grateful to hit the hay and the El Chico motor car for $2 a night.
And for the first 25 years of my life in Taos, or the first 30 years of my life in Taos, I was just intricately involved in the community. And I just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked with people, and I wrote down what people said. I have journal after journal after journal of all the secrets of Taos, all the politics, all the corruption, all the finagling, all the fascinating, crazy, wild, wonderful, stupid stories. And running along with that is an enormous amount of tragedy. You know, Taos is really poor. It's really tough. It's really rotten to be this poor. There is so much poverty, you know, dysfunction, alcoholism, you know, and everything that poverty and inequality breeds. You know, all the
Which came out in The Voice of the Butterfly?
which came out in the Milagro Beanfield War, The Magic Journey, The Nirvana Blues, A Ghost in the Music, If Mountains Die, The Last Beautiful Days of Autumn on the Mesa, American Blood, The Sky's the Limit, An Elegy for September, Keep It Simple, Conjugal Bliss, The Voice of the Butterfly, even the Empanada Brotherhood. So everything that I've ever written since I came to New Mexico has depended on the Taos geology and the humanity of Taos. We were talking, and he said, like, who would you like to thank? You know, like, who would you like to thank in Taos? And I, you know, thought about that for about 12 seconds. And I said, well, it would be the entire community, you know. These are the people I'd like to thank, because it's been an incredible blessing to have to be acquainted with, and to have friends, you know, with at all walks of life in everything I do, you know. And Taos is it's a tough community, you know. I came here because I had no interest in a monocultural, middle class, homogeneous community. You know, I mean, I've always felt comfortable in multi-ethnic situations. It was, I figured, as close as I could come to a third world experience while still being in the United States. I'd read an awful lot about Reyes Tijerina and the Alianza and the land grant movement that had wound up in the raid on the Tierra Maria courthouse and that kind of stuff. I had introductions to Elizabeth Martinez, Petita Martinez, and people in Española who were putting out El Grito del Norte, a newspaper that was like Alianza newspaper. I also started working for a muckraking journal in Santa Fe called the New Mexico Review. I had been writing articles for a couple of years on the struggle to introduce a conservancy district and build a dam in the Taos area, and or defeat the conservancy district and the dam. And I had been working for a couple of years with a group called the Tres Rios Association, which was headed by a good friend of mine, Andres Martinez. I had been trying to write political novels, I mean angry political novels, particularly anti-war novels, anti-Vietnam War during that period. And finally I said, I'm getting nowhere doing this, so I tried to kick back and reintroduce a sense of humor to my life, because I kind of lost my sense of humor a little bit, a lot. And so when the New Mexico Review died, ignominiously, in November of 1972, I said, okay, let's try another novel, you know. And blammed out the Milagro Beanfield War in about 5 or 6 weeks, and took about 3 or 4 weeks to retype the book, sent it to an agent in New York City, and the agent sold it. And which was the first book I'd sold in 8 years or something like that. When the option was given up, like Redford was interested, Cheech Marin was interested, A couple of other Hollywood people were interested, and this guy Moctezuma Esparza was interested. And all the other guys had money and power, and Moctezuma Esparza had nothing except, you know, he was Chicano, he was Latino, he was Hispanic, he came from the hood, he spoke Spanish, he'd been in the movement, and so I figured it would be cool if he would, take the option. And the agent just said, "You're out of your mind, John. What are you talking about? You will make so much money with Robert Redford. You will make money with Cheech Marin. You will make money." I remember there was a consortium of realtors in Albuquerque who wanted the option. They had money, And by that time in my life, the only thing I trusted was lack of money.
On my 1981 book tour, I fly to Seattle, Portland, the Bay Area again, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, Denver, Boulder, Colorado Springs, Austin, Dallas, Chicago. Up high, I'm terrified of even modest turbulence. Once I grabbed the hand of a guy sitting next to me, and although startled, he let me hold his hand until the plane landed safely. I apologized profusely. He replied, "No problem."
And I remember Redford came to Taos and could not believe that I wouldn't give him the option, right? So he went to Esparza and talked to Esparza, and Esparza said, "Oh my God, here's my stepping stone into the big time." So he signed a joint venture agreement with Redford. But Esparza was always the producer of record. They came back to me and asked me to rewrite all the drafts that David Ward had done, rewriting my drafts that I had been doing. And for some reason, a really, really odd reason, Redford decided to make the movie. I do not understand why. I never understood the script, never seemed to be a really good script. And there was so much chaos and confusion around the whole process. And it had been going on for 13 or 14 years.
You think the Milagro Beanfield War is the book that you're going to be the most remembered for?
No, I think it'll be Redford's movie. I think once the movie came out, nobody ever read the book again. It's I don't know. I hope not. But you should be grateful to be remembered for anything.
I wanted to thank you personally again for everything you've done for this community, which is a lot. You never said no. You were always there. You've read so many times for Somos, and I've heard you give speeches at every rally there ever was in this town, I think. And you've been an inspiration to us as a community. And I think a lot of people feel that way, and a lot of people really love you.
Well, what can I say in reply except as George McGovern once said, I'm just a humble, self-effacing egomaniac.
And there you have it.
And there you have it. In a nutshell.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.